Through 10 events, Rich Froning, a 37-point lead on 2008 CrossFit Games champion. Rich Froning trying to put the finishing touches on his third straight CrossFit Games championship. He will work in the middle of the floor. Jason Khalipa and Garrett Fisher, the two men trying to chase him down, will be right next to him and build back-to-back events, and we start with the Cinco 1.
Cinco 1, Cinco 2, we're going to start off with 3 rounds of a 5-rep deadlift, 405 pounds. That's an incredible amount of weight.
Nothing anybody can do to catch him, and he will be the champ once again. The third and final heat of the 12th and final event of the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games underway. Back-to-back events. The Cinco 1 worth 100 points. The Cinco 2 worth 100 points as well.
What you'll see with these guys is how they're going to attack the deadlift. Almost all of these guys are extremely strong athletes, have well over 500-pound deadlifts. Going through those deadlifts unbroken. You'll see a couple of them every once in a while will go singles, but this movement right here, we've never seen a weighted pistol in the CrossFit Games ever. We've seen pistols, but now these guys are actually holding on to a 53-pound kettlebell and having to go down into that single leg squat.
Right now in lane 2, it's Marcus Hendren with one more one-legged squat to go. He is currently in the lead, and Hendren is done, and he will start on round 2. Marcus Hendren out of the Central East region. They sent 5 men from that region to the CrossFit Games. 4 of them are here in the final heat.
You know, he just slipped in. He was 5th coming out of that region. That's kind of a tough place to be because you're thinking, like, should I really have gotten in here? Well, I'll tell you what, he's had an unbelievable CrossFit Games, and he's showing right now to this crowd that he definitely deserves to be here and wants to put a mark on his name and say, guess what, I'm here to stay.
Rich Froning, Garrett Fisher, Marcus Hendren, Z.A. Anderson, all battling for the top spot as it's back and forth here in the Cinco 1. The time to beat belongs to Lucas Parker out of Canada West, 429.9.
Now you see these guys holding on to the kettlebells out in front. That's called basically a goblet squat. Most people do it with 2 legs. These guys have to do it with 1. But right there, Scott Panchik actually decides to hold it off to the side. Again, it's a balance and a comfort level. What works best for them? So you're going to see varying positions with that kettlebell.
Rich Froning currently in the lead. He's through 8 repetitions on his second round of one-legged squats. Now here comes Ben Smith pushing him for the lead. And now Froning onto his 3rd round of deadlift at 405 pounds. Jason Khalipa, meanwhile, on the right is struggling. He's been getting no rep. Couple reasons why that can happen.
That's right. Either one, you don't get below parallel of that hip crease, but what happens with Jason is his front foot keeps dropping and hitting the ground. So it looked like he was actually starting to get fatigued a little bit. He should maybe rest in just a touch so he doesn't have those no reps. That's a lot of wasted energy.
Rich Froning finishing up his 3rd and final round of deadlifts. Now it's on to one final round of one-legged squats. Froning battling the man on your right, Ben Smith, for the lead in this heat. Ben Smith is 4th overall. He's just 5 points back of rookie Garrett Fisher for the final spot on the podium.
These two are, Garrett Fisher and Ben Smith, are 2 young athletes, but Ben Smith has been here so many more times. Garrett Fisher is he's a newcomer, brand new. Ben Smith knows exactly how to compose himself right here. He knows what it feels like to be in that final heat. He's been on the podium before. He really wants to go from 4th to 3rd and get himself back up on the podium for this year.
Froning through 6, Ben Smith right behind him, trying to keep pace with a 2-time defending champion. No rep for Rich Froning on the left there as his left foot hit the ground.
That's the last thing you want to have when you're this close on an event. Ben Smith looks so solid on those pistols.
And now it's Ben Smith. First done with his 3 rounds of deadlifts and pistols, and Smith right up into the handstand walk as he has to traverse that 80 feet, and Rich Froning is right next to him.
Rich Froning, last time they had a handstand walk for distance, was the champion in that skill event, so Ben Smith needs to stay up there. He can't afford to come down, especially with the champ on his tail.
Smith showing no signs of slowing down, but here comes Rich Froning, who can win this event if he keeps this pace, and he is going to crush the time to beat. Rich Froning, unbroken, and across the finish line.
Wow.
Start shining the gold medal for Rich Froning.
I'll tell you what, that guy is unbelievable. You can't throw anything at this kid that he can't do.
Ben Smith is in. Rich Froning now working his way back down the floor to cheer on his fellow competitors. Now Scott Panchik across the finish line. Ben Smith will finish second overall in this event and collect 95 points. Scott Panchik finishes third with a time of 425.5. He will get 90 points. So Ben Smith can move into the top 3 here, depending on what Garrett Fisher does. And it's looking like Smith will overtake Garrett Fisher for the 3rd spot on the podium.
Garrett Fisher is starting to fall behind on those handstands. Obviously, it's a skill. Ben is extremely good at those kind of movements. Maybe Fisher doesn't quite have this skill. He's really having a hard time here. He can feel that 3rd place starting to slip away. As these other athletes are passing him up, that bodes much better for Ben Smith. He's going to have a much higher point total and allow him onto that podium.
Jason Khalipa, who came in 2nd place overall, just finished up. He will now finish 6th overall in this event with a time of 5:04.2. That is Marcus Hendren. He's across the finish line, so Hendren clocking a time of 5:17.9. That'll be good for 7th place in this event. And now Garrett Fisher falling further back as he walks his way down on his hands the last few feet of that 80-foot mat. Dan Bailey just finished, 5:29.2 for him. Fisher a couple more inches to go, and Garrett Fisher, the man who trains with Jason Khalipa on a regular basis with a time of 5:40.2. He will finish in 11th and pick up 65 points. So Ben Smith will now sit in 3rd place overall. But the winner, and the man who's setting himself up for another nice payday here in Carson, California, Rich Froning.
So these guys had that 7-minute time cap that's still just about to finish, and then they'll have 1 minute to rest. Now, I saw some of those athletes actually starting to do some handstand push-ups. They want to set those blocks for them so that when it's their turn to get up there, they're ready to go. They don't want to have to do it on the fly. 2
of the bigger athletes in the field still on the floor. That's Chad McKay. McKay is 6 feet, 225 pounds. He's out of Sydney, Australia. Then at the other end of the floor, it's Z.A. Anderson from Chambly, Georgia. He's 6'1", 215. This is a movement that bigger guys just do not like to see very much. Chad McKay trying to get in inside the 7-minute time cap. We have about 15 seconds to go before that happens. There's a 1-second penalty for every rep you do not complete. The handstand walk counts for 1. Crossing the finish line counts for 1. Meanwhile, Josh Bridges got left in the dust as he was still deadlifting. So Bridges, a man many thought could push for the top of the podium, will fall.
Exactly what that champ has.
Froning gets the win. 100 points in the standings. Ben Smith finishes 2nd and now sits in 3rd place overall. Jason Khalipa.